Now, people across the southern region are being invited to have their say on a major plan that will help shape how our communities grow and develop over the next 10 to 20 years. The Regional Spatial and Economic Strategy influences everything from housing and transport to jobs and climate action, and a public consultation process is underway. To tell us more, on the line we have Kevin Lynch, the Assistant Director and Senior Planner with the Southern Regional Assembly. Kevin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Alan. How are you?
Very well. Thanks very much for being with us.
Good to be here.
Can you just explain a bit about what the Regional Spatial and Economic Strategy is, why it's so important and why this review is happening now?
Yeah. Maybe I just explain firstly who we are. We're a body that incorporates 10 local authorities in the southern half of Ireland, including Clare and all the counties of Munster, plus Wexford, Carlow and Kilkenny. And our job is to help coordinate planning and investment within the southern region. And we kind of sit between the government level and the local authority level. So the government has a national planning framework, which aims to manage the growth and change that will happen in Ireland over the next 20 years. There'll be an additional 1 million people to cater for in the country, and how that's managed. And then our job is to break that down for the southern region into long-term planning and investment that's needed to account for that, of which Clare plays a very important part. So the consultation period is we're at the first stage in the process, and consultation is open to the 22nd of May, where we want people's ideas or the issues that concern them. As I say, we don't deal with stuff that's rightly the business of Clare County Council, land zoning, etc. We deal with the high level stuff. What will be the overall population change? What is needed within each local authority to address the issues that are coming down the tracks.
Okay, so you don't, as you say, that those are the remit of the local authority. But how does the strategy feed into the local county development plans?
Oh, well, it's very important for that, because the Regional Spatial and Economic Strategy sets the framework for the county development plan. So the targets that we have in there, say, for example, in relation to population or renewable energy, they then have to be taken on by the local authority and given that local expression there. So we'll be highlighting targets for wind energy, solar energy. We'll be working through population targets for the next 20 years and how they might, that sets the framework.
Okay,
for the development plan.
So looking ahead to the next period, 2027 to 2040, what are, Kevin, some of the major challenges or opportunities facing the southern region? Perhaps it's sustainable development, climate action, or maybe housing supply, I guess, will be a priority, and infrastructure as well.
Yeah, all those are really important. But I suppose the benefit of the job we have is we're looking to the long term, and there's certain things you can see. In some ways, southern region is doing very well economically. We're in a really good place in employment-wise, certainly compared to the past. But if you look at it, then we're very high in European terms in terms of economic development, but we're right down at the bottom in terms of infrastructure investment. So there's a kind of an unusual problem there, in that alignment between we're very high up in European terms in many ways, but we're not very high in other ways. And to bring it back to the fundamental issue for Ireland, and this is in the national planning framework, is that the impact on the southern region is on, nationally the concern is the level of growth in Dublin, which is not really good for Dublin and not really good for the country, but also that's then taking much of the investment that's needed in the southern region, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you look at national policy in the national planning framework, the target is that while we don't stop the growth of Dublin, we slow it down, and that the the areas in the southern region, they will take that growth, but that needs infrastructure investment. So state policy is a 50-50 split between the Eastern Midlands region around Dublin and the southern region, northern western region. But if you look at actual infrastructure investment, it actually splits 70-30. So that gets to the core of the problem that we will be highlighting in the regional spatial and economic strategy and how to overcome that. But there's huge opportunities coming up as well for the southern region in terms of renewable energy, offshore renewable, etc. So there's a lot that's positive out there, and there is a lot of population to manage, but within that there are areas of deep population, for example, in rural areas, and that's something that affects there. So that needs to be, there's lots of issues to be addressed, but we do have the wherewithal to do that, but it does take long-term planning and investment, and I think that point about the imbalance in investment is something that needs to be addressed.
So it is important for people to have their say. Just to finish, Kevin, what is the deadline? And for someone listening, how easy is it to make a submission? What's the easiest way for them to have their say?
If they go to our website, southernassembly.ie, all the details are there. There's a range of issues papers we've published to assist people. They can make their comments online or in person. We on the 21st of April we'll be holding a public event in the Strand Hotel in Limerick in the afternoon. That we'll be there to meet people as well if they have any questions for us. So the best bet is to go to our website, and there's a whole series of information there.
Okay, brilliant stuff. I'm sure many will do that. Kevin Lynch there, the Assistant Director and Senior Planner at the Southern Regional Assembly, with us on Morning Focus.